Warning! This video will contain discussion of Death Battle. You have been warned. Okay, for real, this video will contain discussion of any and all episodes explicitly confirmed for Death Battle Season 10, including those voted on by the Champion Poll, as well as what was revealed at MAGFest earlier this year. If you do not know what that episode is and do not wish to be spoiled, avoid this video. Thank you. Hello YouTube! Morkez Marihser here. I started writing this Death Battle video of my apparently biannual tradition just as Season 9 ended, and it was... You know what? I'm not gonna throw in any hot takes on the season. In fact, I'm not gonna throw in any opinions whatsoever, because today I am going to do something else. Something ugly. Something malignant. Something dangerous. Something mathematical. Today I'm throwing all subjectivity out the window and predicting the 10th season of Death Battle using nothing but objective metrics, pattern analysis, and mathematical gobbledygook. In fact, I've even brought on a friend to help me. Introducing...
Hey, what's going on, you guys? My name is the Rappter, and thank you so much for joining us. What we've done is taken a look at every single episode and checked whether they fall into certain categories or not. We put all that information in a Google Sheet and use the math functions to give us all the totals, ratios, everything like that. And we're going to use all those statistics to assemble a mathematically accurate prediction for Death Battle Season 10.
Thank you, Rappter. Now, is this going to be an accurate way to predict the future? No. Just the fact that fan-voted episodes can appear from here on out screws up this entire method. But you know what? I think it'd be fun, and that's what matters. And it's not like versus debaters don't get arbitrary to begin with. So, let's take it away with... We ended up working with 21 categories, some general, some specific, and some being subcategories of others. There could have been more, but some would get so pedantic and hard to fairly judge, so we stuck with what we had. For each of them, we're going to pull out the seasonal charts for quantity and ratio on screen. They'll fly by quickly, so if you're curious, pause the video. Then when you see how we did this, you can come up with a season of your own using the same methodology. First off, comics. Pretty self-explanatory as they take up so much of the show. If a combatant originates from a printed comic, comic strip, or webcomic, they hit this. Within that are subcategories for Marvel and DC, specific Marvel vs. DC episodes, and other comics like Image or the Ninja Turtles.
Next up, video games, which is also pretty self-explanatory. Within that is a subcategory of combatants who are playable in Smash Bros. And fighting game versus fighting game episodes specifically.
A few more categories for combatant origin. Anime and manga, which for our purposes will be considered interchangeable. Television, films, and cartoons get combined here, and include everything from Western animation to live-action cinema. Other sources include novels, commercials, mythology, and any other uncategorizable point of origin. We are disregarding real people.
Then, a few specific matchup types. East versus West, where each end is clearly from those parts of the world, but not if it's too muddled to tell or such an international effort. Within that, Western comics versus Eastern manga has its own subcategory as a popular extension of it. Then joke episodes with inherently joke characters or a matchup designed to be silly first and foremost, though characters who happen to be silly do not necessarily make a joke episode and are evaluated case to case. Female versus female episodes are notable in the community as well, so that also gets a category.
We have episodes where a new series debuts for the first time on the show, and that will include every relevant episode of Season 1, so you have been warned. Then returning combatants, or runbacks, which I made that entire video on and will be referencing a couple times. And then there are successor episodes, which is a bit more complicated. A rematch, a sequel, an extension of the prior matchup's rivalry, or an episode where we expected to follow directly on a previous episode in some form. You get the drill.
Last but not least, the 4 types of animation: 2D sprites, 3D models, hand-drawn artwork, and live action, which isn't an animation style at all. We live in an era when Death Battle will often mix and match these, but for the sake of this video, an episode will count for the animation it primarily uses, even if a sprite fight is varied up with hand-drawn moments or interacts with 3D environments.
So, those are the trends, now let's combine them all together. We took 3 calculations out of all of these and determined for each category: A, the total percentage of episodes in the series as a whole, which you saw in the charts. B, the average percentage of episodes per season. C, the median percentage of episodes per season. With these numbers put together, we can approximate what percentage of our mathematically accurate Season 10 needs to hit these marks. Let's make the safe assumption that Season 10 has 16 episodes like the last few. Of those 16, 6 episodes need to feature comic books. 5 of them will be Marvel or DC, 2 will have both, and 1 will feature another comic.
6 will have combatants from video games, 3 of them having appeared in Smash with 1 fighting game rivalry.
4 episodes each from our anime, manga, and TV film cartoon amalgams. Other source materials get 1 episode.
4 episodes have an East versus West rivalry, with 1 of them being comics versus manga. There will be 1 joke episode and 2 female versus female matchups as well.
8 episodes will feature a brand new series to Death Battle. Yes, that is half the season, and yes, we've made sure to keep track. 3 will feature a returning combatant, and 2 will be successors to prior episodes in some form.
Finally, for animation, 10 of the 16 episodes will be sprite animated, with 4 in 3D. And since the other 2 animation styles gave us less than 1 episode each no matter how we sliced it, we gave them leeway, so 1 hand-drawn episode and 1 in live action. Yes, that might be unrealistic, but that's what the math is for.
With these numbers, we're going to do a reverse Price is Right, getting as close to these quotas as possible without going under. We tried getting things exactly, but to ensure this already delayed video doesn't take an additional few weeks, we allowed ourselves to go over each quota by 1 episode tops. And here we are. For a season premiere, nothing quite beats the spectacle of Bowser vs. Eggman. A long overdue rivalry that comes to a head not far away from when the Mario movie releases.
Next up, the MAGFest confirmed Dragonborn vs. Chosen Undead. Truth be told, we had a season planned out before this one was announced, and it took some extensive rearranging, but it's still exciting. And as you can tell, we figured everything out.
Fitting in right next to Ant-Man 3, Ant-Man vs. the Atom is a long-awaited Marvel vs. DC rivalry with a lot of fun stuff to throw into the animation, and a quite interesting debate that doesn't have a clear answer.
It's hard to say much about Attack on Titan that hasn't already been said. Its tragic lead has a very fitting opponent from fellow anime juggernaut Tokyo Ghoul. Hence, Ken Kaneki vs. Eren Yeager.
Spider-Man No Way Home raised interest for Green Goblin again, and thankfully we have a great opponent for him in Kazuya Mishima. I realize these two are not the most popular opponents for each other in the community, but the popularity has been rising lately. Plus, I'm proud of this thumbnail and track name, so sue me.
This might have been a punchline before, but the deeper you look into Luffy vs. Plastic Man, the more they surprisingly work really well together. The result might be a bit clear-cut, but the dynamic just keeps getting better.
The joke episode of the season is The Grinch vs. Jack Skellington. But you would be very surprised just how much these two have when you consider all their media. Not Kingdom Hearts, though. Still, we expect this to be handled in the more joke episode-like format, especially with the potentially thematic joke of Christmas coming in way too damn early again.
And then the first of the 2 poll winners, Alex Mercer vs. Cole McGrath, acts as our mid-season finale. This is the absolute earliest we feel either of these could happen, with production set aside to get them done ASAP.
Our returning premiere is the other poll winner, Bill Cipher vs. Discord. Funny how that works, and it makes sense to use the winner as part of the advertising for the show and the community Discord. I swear that was not wordplay when I wrote it.
The other Marvel vs. DC episode of the season is one that surprisingly hasn't happened already, She-Hulk vs. Supergirl. It's got a lot more to it than just female Hulk versus female Superman, and the fact that it doesn't tie into any specific release hasn't stopped recent seasons.
It's about damn time Star Trek shows up, but before we can get to my most wanted, which is Grand Admiral Thrawn vs. Captain Picard, let's finally get Captain Kirk vs. Han Solo. Save the starships for that one, and keep this fight in live-action 60s cheese by a studio-lit rock formation. It's perfect.
With Rise of the Beasts putting Beast Wars on the big screen, there's no better time for X vs. Optimus Primal. X has plenty to show off that the Battle Royale couldn't get into, and Primal's a very different and very fun Transformer.
I commented on Ghost Rider vs. Spawn in my runback video, same thoughts apply here. I'd say it's long enough since Lobo for it to happen, and it makes for a nice Halloween episode.
One of the big Street Fighter vs. Mortal Kombat fights left, Juri vs. Melina, surprisingly has a lot to work with beyond the superficial, and the connections are better than the superficial. Might not be the reason it's popular, but still.
This isn't my preferred for Blue Beetle, who is getting a movie around this time, but The Guyver is another series that definitely has versus potential and needs more attention. Sorry Geo, you might be Jaime's best, but hey, X got in at least, in our hypothetical scenario.
And for the season finale, with his story finally coming to a close, it's time to pull the trigger on Ash Ketchum vs. Yugi Muto. Some could say it almost rivals Galactus vs. Unicron in terms of people waiting and hoping for them to do it already, and now they finally can.
So, seems pretty solid, right? Some excitement, some reasonable predictions, a few that are out there, all of it fitting within calculated parameters. But we're not done. Oh no, we're not stopping there. To compensate for being so logical, of course I was going to throw in something crazy town banana pants. Let's create a 20-episode, mathematically accurate Season 11. Why? I don't know. You don't care. Let's do it. Here's what all the numbers look like, using the same percentages and applying them to 4 additional episodes of Space. This was difficult, especially when we had to rearrange Season 10 after a certain announcement. But in the end, we actually ended up more proud of this one than the last, somehow. Here we go again! The premiere this time is Sly Cooper vs. Lupin III. Literally the day I finished revising this script, they announced that episode of the podcast. Any additional comments I can make here are completely moot. It speaks for itself by now.
2024 actually has a new Percy Jackson and the Olympian series coming, but even without that, it's a series that very much belongs on Death Battle, with Harry getting a chance for a much-needed, improved return.
While not the timeliest episode, Moon Knight vs. Azrael stars 2 very similar and very off-the-wall vigilantes that have surged back into pop culture as of late.
Another big fighting game match that people have been waiting for a long time is Liu Kang vs. Jago, for sure. And now, seems like the time to pull that trigger.
You know what? I want another raccoon. It misses the timing with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 by a bit, but it's about time one of those people got on the show. And who better for Rocket Raccoon than another adorable agent of chaos like Stitch?
A joke episode that has been in the community for a while, as well as plenty episodes of the Death Battle cast, the cereal mascot Battle Royale could definitely be something... well, it'd be something. Though at least this time, not as a milestone.
Chaos vs. Kyogre is a community favorite that just works, you know? And fun fact, Kyogre knows thunder in the wild. And I will not be slandered about TMs again! You heard nothing. But hey, kaiju fight, good to have those back.
Raven is a character who definitely needs a shake against someone who more similarly matches her history and development, and that'd be Jean Grey, aka Phoenix, aka Marvel Girl, aka even Morkez isn't bothering to keep track of her alias anymore. See his run-back video for more information.
You either know this matchup and love it, or know this matchup and are sick of it. But Joker vs. Giorno is still a very popular one, and one of the more likely JoJo episodes from here on out.
The mid-season finale is another one from the champion poll, but we actually chose Spy vs. Agent 47 for the overdue return of Team Fortress above anything else.
Returning from the break, we get the live-action fight of the season, which can focus a bit more on gunplay and close-quarters combat like the one in Season 7. Punisher vs. Judge Dredd. Sure, it means they won't get all of their tools, but they'll get the important ones.
Meta Knight vs. Riku is a really solid option for the former. It's one of the most popular matches for him while being the least disliked by many of several camps, plus there's the community in-joke about the race for either series to go 3-0.
We interrupt your regularly scheduled season to bring you episode 200. And I can't think of anything better than Kyle Rayner vs. Simone the Digger. Popular enough to make one of the polls and perfect for a milestone like this. Though, of course it'll end up a successor to something. Be it the previous milestones, the other Lantern episode, or both.
After that, Spider-Man vs. Ladybug. It's one of those matchups where it's tough to add to the discussion at this point, though having it be in 3D would be nice, assuming lessons have been learned since that one Season 7 episode.
I am very much unqualified to talk about Gojo vs. Makima, but it's discussed so often that I can't ignore it. I don't think Season 10 is soon enough for it, but Season 11 should be better, giving more time for the material to come out.
Two cartoonish fighting games come together with Skullgirls making its debut on the show against Darkstalkers, Shenko vs. Squiggly. Hopefully I pronounced that right.
If that's not Halloweeny enough for you, maybe we can throw in some Ghost Hunters. And who better to call than Luigi and Pac-Man? I don't know, but that's who I'm going with. See my runback video for more information.
As we start to reach the end, the last Marvel vs. DC fight of the season goes a bit less on the cosmic scale and a bit more on the personal with Vision vs. Red Tornado. Much like Cable vs. Booster Gold, any fading spotlight on the characters shouldn't prevent this from being of quality.
The penultimate episode would take a much more stylized approach with Splinter vs. Shifu, a surprisingly deep matchup that definitely needs more coverage. Is it any wonder that a series about Ninja Turtles and Kung Fu Pandas mesh well together? I mean, barring the creation of a series of Jujutsu Jackalopes, but that's too obvious.
For a season finale, we couldn't exactly choose anything huge without overshadowing the 200th episode, so instead we went with a matchup that might not be so big on its own, but feels big when taken to its full extremes. Darth Vader vs. Obito. At this point, 4 seasons after Obi-Wan vs. Kakashi. Plenty of time.
Alright, I think that's enough Crazy Town Banana Pants for one video. And now you've seen the methods, the madness, the math, the me, the man who joined the video with me, the Rappter, who I'd like to take a moment to thank for coming along.
Thank you too, Morkez. This was certainly one hell of a time. And if you all can follow the same methods and come up with a season fitting either set of parameters, we'd be curious to see it in the comments. It could be for season 10, 11, 12, 30, whatever you want. And remember that we're not doing this to legitimately say this is what will happen, it's just a fun challenge for its own sake.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out the Raptors channel for more Death Battle reviews, discussions, analyses, and so forth. Check out my channel for that runback video I've alluded to, and other Death Battle content as well. And if you like what you've seen, subscribe to see what I, or we, do next. This is Morkez Marihser, signing off.